This is Patrick Kennedy, and this evening I'm interviewing Victor Lee. He is the president of Edison XFC, a solar EV company. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you for having me on board.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Edison XFC. I'm just going to call it Edison for short. Yes, please. You guys currently have a raise on StartEngine. There's 27 days left. Exciting time. And we're going to talk for about 20 minutes. We're going to go over the team, the technology, and the market. And that's a lot to cover in that time. But this is really meant to be kind of an informal introduction to the company and the team, technology, and market. If people want more information, they're welcome to go to the campaign page. We'll also include contact information for Edison directly if someone's interested in, you have technical questions about how the technology works, or if you're interested in investing, $5, $10, $15, $25, $50,000 in a fourth wave GreenTech company. I'm sure someone at Edison would be happy to answer any more detailed questions. So let's start with the team. I know this is a world-class team. Maybe we should start with some of your colleagues, and then we can go to your career. I'm sure we could talk for 2 hours about your career alone. We were just talking. Let's start with the people who developed the technology, and then we'll talk about how you came into Edison and why that's critical to scaling the company.
Sure, of course. So I founded my company, and immediately I brought in the brainchild of the technology, Dr. Joseph Armstrong, who is our CTO, and we have worked together in our previous company for over a decade. So just to give you a little bit of background, our previous company at Solar Technology is the developer of extremely flexible and extremely lightweight photovoltaic modules. So obviously, Dr. Armstrong was the brainchild of the technology, and likewise for Edison XFC, we co-developed this technology and this very unique solution for extreme fast charging for EV charging. Back then, when we were in at Solar, our focus really is to apply this very thin, lightweight, and flexible solar film onto applications where it's not the traditional application like the utility scales solar farm or for rooftop application, but instead it's meant for mission critical applications like on the satellite, on spacecraft, the aerospace industries like airship, air balloon. So we work with space agencies like NASA, the Japanese equivalent of NASA, which is JAXA, and many other private companies to integrate our lightweight thin film solar panel on their vehicle. So a key component of that is that the power of these vehicles, they are all off-grid. Right, when you're up in the air, in the orbit, 60,000 feet above ground, there's no grid connectivity. Everything is mobility power, and that's where our expertise come in, and everything is depending on the solar power and the battery technology and the DC component of it that produces high voltage power that's needed for all these vehicles. So we have immense experience in that, and with that, we are able to take our experience in this DC coupled solution and apply it to EV charging, which I'll talk a little bit more about our EV charging technology later. But the concept is really, the DC coupled solution that is totally detached from the connecting to the grid.
Okay, so let me just recap. As a layperson, I'm not a technician or engineer. So you developed this technology for the equivalent of Japan's NASA, And for these situations where you have airships, you have, it sounds like low orbit satellites and things like that.
Yeah, right.
There is no backup power, it sounds like. It's all solar.
There's no backup power. It's all relying on solar power. And that's where our solar technology comes into play, because it's extremely light, extremely flexible, that can be seamlessly integrated onto the vehicle itself. That's what we develop. Yeah.
So you developed, you and your partner developed this technology for the very high performance, high tech mission critical situations, and now you're taking it, applying it to kind of a mass market situation with the U.S. Automobiles.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Okay, that's fascinating. I didn't know that actually. So we kind of dived into the technology. I want to back up a little bit and talk about the team first. So let's go back and talk about your partner is Dr. Amit Kumar. He did his postdoc at Harvard. He PhD from Caltech, joint studies Stanford and Caltech. He's more degrees than I can possibly even go over in this kind of short conversation, but he's out. It's impressive. He's got pedigrees from the best schools in the United States. And what was his background before Edison? What was he working on?
Actually, he's in the biotech sector, and as a matter of fact, Dr. Amit Kumar is not involved in our day-to-day operations, because he himself currently is the chairman and CEO of a NASDAQ listed company. So it's a biotech company that he founded and developed this brain cancer technology for treatment of breast cancer. So that is his background. But of course, prior to that, he was also involved in many other technology, including, solar technology and battery chemistry technology as well. So, he's just a wonderful guy.
Oh, I see. So he's a board member, and it's actually Dr. Joseph Armstrong, who's the chief technology officer.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. And now it says he is a pioneer in solar technology and grid management. So it sounds like he's been in GreenTech for a long time.
Oh yes, he is. He's been in the renewable energy for probably his entire life, I would say. And he started his career as a manager from Martin Marietta Aerospace Division, which is today's Lockheed Martin. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then let's talk about your background. I know we were kind of talking, we started talking before we even began recording, but you have a fascinating background, working all the way from GreenTech in Malaysia to moving to the United States. So again, we only have maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but why don't we talk about your background and why your background is critical to Edison scaling in the next couple of years?
Oh, wow. I started my career as a banker, so I've spent almost 15, 16 years in the banking industry, starting my career from Citibank and then on to Deutsche Bank and finally Morgan Stanley, all in Asia. And during my time as a banker, I have the opportunity to work with many entrepreneurs, businessmen, CEOs, owner of big and small companies within the region in Southeast Asia. And hence, I have the luxury of getting exposed to many industries, multiple industries. I think that set the stage and gave me a very strong background of seeing all these entrepreneurs starting their business, starting their companies from scratch, from very small company and scaling it up to a very sizable company, and eventually some of them even went on for public listing in Hong Kong and Singapore or in the regional stock exchange. So really, by working with all these entrepreneurs, businessmen, it really exposes me to multiple industries and seeing how these industries grow from, literally a baby to a grown child and finally being an adult. So I think I gained a lot of experience, and after I left my banking industry, I ventured into many other areas, including real estate. And one of the venture that I had was in the gold mining, and I had the luxury of scaling up a greenfield gold mining project to commercializing and actual production stage of the small little gold mine in northern part of Malaysia. So I was a co-CEO at that time, so I worked closely with the founder and the chairman of this company, and we literally built a company from scratch, hiring the engineering team, the technical team, the operational team, the finance team, and I even, have to stay up in the mountain in the minefield, just to experience and also to go through, everything hands-on, so that, we know exactly what are the challenges, the problems. So I love that experience. I'm a very hands-on man, so I think that also, gave me a very strong foundation, that being able to see through every nitty-gritty, every details of an operations, and that allow me to grow the company and scale up the company or scale up in operations, simply because I'm very hands-on and I know exactly the process, the challenges, and the problem.
And you also were involved with Accent Solar, helping them.
Yes.
Oh, yep. Let's talk about that.
Right. So after my venture in the gold mining company, which I was also instrumental in taking the company to be the first publicly listed gold mining company in the Singapore Stock Exchange back then. So it's a small gold mining company, but it's still something, from scratch and from greenfield. So after they were listed, I left the company, and I relocated to US, and I joined Edison Solar as the CEO of the company. And at that time, Edison Solar was still at R&D stage. And myself, that's where I met Dr. Armstrong and worked very closely with Dr. Armstrong today, our CTO today, where we work together to not only take this new technology from lab to fab, but also scaling up the operations and commercializing the products and the technology.
Great. So I talked to a lot of investors on StartEngine, and particularly larger investors, and past success, in the financial field, you always say past success is not indicative of future performance, but for team members, it is. That's kind of like a common understanding, is that if someone's had success once, twice, three times, they often at least have a shot to make it big. So you've had these two wins. One was with this gold mining company that went public in Singapore. Second was Accent Solar, and then Edison, hopefully will be the third one. And we kind of
and not forgetting Dr. Amit Kumar, our chairman, although he's not in the day-to-day operations of Edison XFC, but he's an important key member of the team, of the management team. And his success in his own capacity by developing new biomedical technology and taking it public on the NASDAQ is also something that we should not underestimate and forget.
Fantastic. So you've got this dream team. You really do have a world-class team. So let's go back to the technology. So we talked about how this was developed for these mission critical satellites and airplanes, all these types, not airplanes, I guess, but what did you call
airships, air balloons, right.
Okay, so you take it from this high concept area, and then you're bringing it to EV charging. And I think for the average person, maybe the efficiency is what kind of interests them. You can get the charging for an EV down to as little as 10 minutes. which is 2 to 5 times faster than the existing network. Is that accurate? Yep.
Yes, that's definitely what we aim to. And actually, our technology is, I would say that it's not a rocket science technology. It's really a very simple concept. Because if you look at EV today, we're talking about EV charging. There's really two main parts. One is the receiving end, and one is the delivery of power, right? So the receiving end is the EV itself, or the EV battery itself. And I know there are tons of battery technology company out there that is doing a lot of research, pumping billions of dollars in developing the next generation battery technology. Very good, right? And I'm very hopeful that one day we'll see better and battery technology coming out of the market. But as it is today, the technology is already quite good. Okay, so we all know that battery works on direct current, which is DC, right? They store power in DC format, and they drive the engine of the EV. But what we are working on is not the battery technology. What we're working on is the infrastructure side that delivers the power. And today, unfortunately, the whole world is driven by alternating current. We all turn on our electrical appliances, whatever we do, everything is connected to the utility grid or the central grid, which delivers alternating current, which is AC. However, EV batteries is actually receiving DC. So, because of this infrastructure constraint, in order to charge an EV in a very fast and efficient manner, you have to first draw power from the utility grid, which is kind of like a instant power. But then in order to charge the EV battery, you need to convert the AC into DC. And that process itself is not efficient, and you loses power. And at the same time, you are actually putting a lot more pressure on the utility grid, because if we are talking about multiple EVs, say 10 EVs all charging at the same time, drawing high amount of power and high current from the utility grid, you're going to put a lot of stress on the utility grid. And that itself would cause a problem, because the medium voltage utility grid is not going to be able to supply that kind of power at the same time to so many EVs. So as a result of that, the infrastructure itself is constrained and is limited, and is not able to deliver the right amount or the desired amount of power to the EV, and hence impacting the charging speed. So what we do is really developing a solution by combining solar, battery energy storage, and powered by our own energy management system to be able to generate renewable energy from solar to charge the EV direct or through a DC coupling solution, without having to convert from AC to DC back to DC, or AC and DC again. So right from the solar panel, is all DC throughout. And also we have a battery storage system where we will connect that to the utility grid, but we only recharge the battery during nighttime, when the alternating current or the electricity cost is at its lowest and at its cheapest. And by recharging the battery overnight, we are not putting any strain or any stress or pressure on the utility grid. So this is kind of an energy arbitrage strategy, where we buy low overnight and we sell high the next day when all the EV starts pulling up to the station, because you never know when the EV is going to pull up to the station. Some may pull up all at the same time, or some may not even turn up during a specific period of time. So, if you have a infrastructure that's connecting directly to the AC grid, then you are literally subject to the whatever utility cost at that particular time, and also the high demand charge when all the EVs are pulling power at the same time. But having our integrated solution with a battery storage, then we literally have no constraint, and we're able to support the multiple high-speed charging at the same time without, yeah.
So we've got about 6 minutes left. So let me kind of summarize again as a layperson trying to wrap my mind around all this. So there's this technical bottleneck in terms of scaling for the number of EVs. There's inefficiencies in terms of how the power is generated, how it's transferred, how it's stored, when it's used, when it can be stored, all those kinds of things. And the long story short is you can get the actual charging down to about 20 minutes. Is that accurate?
Even lesser than 20 minutes. So let's put it this way. The technology itself right now out in the market, there are already plenty of 350 kilowatt charger. And depending on the types of EV, you can literally charge an EV up to 80% in sub 20 to 30 minutes. But again, the problem really is that with this 350 kilowatt charger, if you have multiple EVs all charging at the same time, pulling that much of a power, that's where the utility grid will not be able to support. The central grid will not be able to support. And therefore, in real world charging scenario, you're not going to get 350 kilowatt. And most of the time, you're going to be sharing power, and you're going to see somewhere in the region of maybe 120 to 150 kilowatts, right? Sometimes it goes up a little higher, 180, maybe even 200, but most of the time we're talking about average of 120 to 150. So you are not optimizing the charging capability of the charger itself. And, what we do really is to create a solution where we can bypass the constraint of the grid, and therefore we're able to deliver maximum power that the EV can receive. So if the EV can receive 300 kilowatt, we give 300 kilowatt. If the EV can take 350, we give 350. If they can take up to 180, we give 180, right? If in that case, we ensure that you are able to receive maximum power from our charger and reduce the charging speed significantly.
Understood. All right. So let's we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So let's switch to the market. So the EV market is around 11.32 billion, but it sounds like there's also a bottleneck there as 38% of US consumers say that they intend to buy an EV. If it's conditional though, if certain expectations are met. In terms of charging, in terms of the driving range, the price and whatnot. And it sounds like Edison helps meet at least 4 or 5 of these expectations. The price of the EV is out of your control. But
yes. Let me just explain a little bit. That. Sorry, I lost you.
Oh yeah, you were going to explain. Go ahead. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So yes, you talk about this consumer survey conducted by Boston Consulting Group. So basically, they are saying that, hey, look, there are 38% of US consumers saying that they are ready to buy an EV as their next vehicle, provided that some of these expectations are being met. And among these 5 expectations, number 1 is the driving range of the EV, which needs to be at about 350 miles on a full charge. We are not quite there, but we are very close. So I would say that criteria is somewhat met, right? And the price of $50,000 is also somewhat met. I think we're there already. And greater variety of EV offerings. Today we have so many varieties, so many different types and models of EV. So that's already met. So the last 2 criteria really is a charging time of less than 20 minutes, and we're not quite there yet. And also the 30 minutes detour and wait time for a fast charging station. So these 2 are intertwined, because if you takes more than 20 minutes or an hour to charge an EV, then obviously, it prolongs the waiting time for the next drivers to occupy the charger. So these two are intertwined. And we believe that Edison XFC is ready to plug the gap because of our extreme fast charging solution, where we can charge an EV in sub 10 plus minutes. So the turnover will be a lot faster, and we're killing two birds in one stone by providing extreme fast charging and hence reducing the wait time.
Okay, so if these expectations were met, if these 38% of US car drivers, what would the market be at that point?
That's huge. I mean, we're talking about in US right now, the EV adoption rate, as of the end of 2023 is roughly about 8% of the new car sales. And that only comprises of 6%. So you can imagine, we're talking about, 6% of them representing a 10% new car, 8% new car sales, but at 38%, then we're talking about a huge market. And in US, if I'm not wrong, we're looking at about 280 million vehicles on the road. And every year we're looking at, new car sales of about 14 million. So if you're talking about 38% of, consumers converting to EV, this is a huge number that you can work it out yourself.
Okay, I will do that. So we just got a minute left. So talking to these larger investors on StartEngine, 5,000 plus, 10,000 plus, why should they invest in Edison now?
Well, very simple, game-changing technology that we believe is going to disrupt the current EV charging infrastructure market. Like I say, EV is growing, and with the world moving towards zero carbon emission worldwide, I think the market is huge, and everyone is just waiting for that to happen. And the real bottleneck right now is what we mentioned earlier on, the charging anxiety, the charging speed that is holding back the so-called gas holdout. And we believe that Edison's technology is going to change this, and it's going to revolutionize how we charge the EV. So what we're trying to develop is to give an experience that's comparable to the traditional gasoline refuel.
Fantastic. We're going to end on that note. And thanks so much for joining us. Again, we're going to post the campaign page at StartEngine, and we'll post an email if anyone has any technical questions or questions about the opportunity as well. Thanks again so much, Victor.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Thank you.